Hey, music lovers, Mountain Man Picker here. Today on Just for the Record, I wanted to share with you my personal 20 best rock records that every collector should have in their collection. Now, I know you're going to disagree with me on some of these, and that's okay. Put in the comments the records that you would recommend, or if you're in agreement on some of these. I love to read your comments. But you know, when I'm not out picking for vinyl records, I'm usually teaching guitar lessons. I'm a guitar instructor, so music is my thing, and it has been for years and years and years. And I've got thousands and thousands of vinyl records. Don't tell my wife. No, I'm just kidding. She already knows that. And so that's why I have to resell some of my albums that I pick up at estate sales, thrift stores, antique stores. Sometimes I'll buy a whole collection from a collector, and then the records that I already have or that I don't really care about, I put those up for sale in my eBay store, and the records that I want to keep, I just add those to my collection. So I think some of you out there do the same thing because I read your comments all the time. So what I'm doing right now, I'm actually going through my collection. I'm adding these plastic sleeves in to my collection because I've gotten really behind on that, and these plastic covers work great too, and I'll put a link in the description in case you want to get some of these because they really come in handy. But I'm in the process of making sure that my entire collection is stored the right way so that my records don't get damaged over the years. All right, so let's jump into this 20 LP countdown. I'm going to do this in alphabetical order. These are all going to be records that are rock and roll related. So stay tuned. Here we go. Okay, number one, I would be talking about AC/DC Back in Black, but I accidentally sold that record. So AC/DC Back in Black is definitely a very collectible rock album. And now I've got to find another one. So we'll see how long that takes. But let's start with the Beatles, okay? These are going to be what I believe are the most collectible Beatles records. There's so many out there that you should be collecting, but these are the ones that I think are most collectible. The Beatles White Album. I've got a few of these. This one that I'm holding in my hand here, this is a numbered A2460610. All right, and of course, you probably already know this, but the lower that number is, the more valuable that white album usually becomes. Now, it also depends on which pressing you have, and this pressing that I have is the Winchester pressing, and the LPs are in really, really good condition. The vinyl is, I'm not sure if you can see that, and this is a stereo copy. The vinyl is primo on this one. But the Beatles White Album came out. This pressing is 1968, I believe. Very highly collectible record. It's a double LP. If you don't have that yet, you need to make sure you get it if you're a Beatles fan. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, another Beatles record, 1966. Rubber Soul. I've got two copies here. I actually have 4 copies of Rubber Soul. I just can't seem to turn loose of them all, but this is a stereo copy. This is a mono copy. I like both of them. I would lean more towards the stereo copy personally. I think it sounds better. There's things about the mono copy that I like as well, but I'm going to venture to say the stereo copy, in my opinion, is more collectible. I like it better. Beatles Rubber Soul, 1966, highly collectible. Let's go to the next one. Okay, also from 1966, the Beatles Revolver. This one's a stereo copy. This is the Abbey record pressing. I also have a couple Pittman pressings, but Revolver, one of my most favorite of all time records by the Beatles. This is when they were kind of getting into the psychedelic realm, and so many cool songs on here. Tomorrow Never Knows, Taxman, Eleanor Rigby, Got to Get You Into My Life. Just an awesome record. Beatles Revolver, that's going to be number 3. Okay, moving along, 1967. This is one I grew up listening to all the time in my younger years. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. And this is a very highly collectible record. There's so many different pressings of it. I recommend you get both a mono and a stereo copy like I have here. The mono copy just sounds to me, completely different than the stereo copy. It's got some really cool differences on it. Let me know in the comments what you think. But these two copies here, I'm holding on to. They're in very, very good condition. Mono and stereo. Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. That's number 4. Okay, one more Beatles record, and then we're going to move on to the next band. But from 1969, when this record came out, wow. What an amazing album. Beatles Abbey Road. It's got the iconic picture of them walking across the street here on Abbey Road. And this copy that I've got in my hand here is a UK copy. Very, very good sounding copy of Abbey Road. I mean, I'm so happy with this copy. I've also got 3 other copies of Abbey Road. This one's my favorite. Very collectible record. If you don't have this one, you've got to get this one into your collection. I mean, it's got Here Comes the Sun, Come Together, Something. On side 2, you've got the whole medley of songs, Golden Slumbers, Polythene Pam, I can't even think of all the different songs that are on there, but it's an amazing record, very highly collectible. Beatles Abbey Road. Let's go to number 6. All right, back in 1970, this band really came out with some heavy stuff, man. You can call it the dark side, wherever you want to call it, but Black Sabbath. Their first record, 1970. It's got their self-titled hit, Black Sabbath, The Wizard, NIB. I mean, just a really heavy, hard rock album. When I first heard these guys, that just totally changed things for me. Then I started getting into the heavier stuff. But this one here is very collectible. Great record, 1970. Black Sabbath's Black Sabbath. Very collectible record. All right, let's change the style up a little bit. You know, rock and roll has been influenced by so many different types of music. I should say rock and roll has influenced so many types of music. New wave and stuff like that. The Cars, they were considered new wave back in the day, probably still are. 1978, their first album. When I first heard this stuff back in high school, I was like, wow, this is amazing stuff. Elliot Easton on guitar, Rick Ocasek, the singer. I can't remember the bass player's name, but he was really good as well. Awesome band, The Cars. This album here has so many hits on it. It's like their greatest hits album. I'll have to look at my Discogs over here just to remember all the songs. Good Times Roll, My Best Friend's Girl, Just What I Needed, You're All I've Got Tonight, Moving in Stereo, all mixed up. The whole album is awesome. If you don't have this one, you've got to get it. The Cars. Let's go to the next one. All right, let's fast forward to 1985, another genre of rock and roll. This band totally changed my life when I first started listening to them. Dire Straits, the Brothers in Arms album, is a very highly collectible record. It's very, very popular to own, and it's a great album. It's got the hit Money for Nothing on it. So Far Away, just a really, really good record from 1985, Dire Straits. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this next one from 1977. This one's more of a pop rock type of a record, but had lots of hits on it, and I'm sure you'll remember this one. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. What an awesome record. And I've got a near mint copy here that I've had ever since it came out. It's a fantastic record. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors. There's a lot of drama that goes along with this album. If you haven't checked it out, look on YouTube and just search out how they made this record and what was going on behind the scenes. It's quite a tale. But Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, this was a really important album for me when I was growing up. Turned me on to Fleetwood Mac, and I was a fan after I heard the Rumors album. I mean, Go Your Own Way, The Chain, Don't Stop. Just an awesome record. Fleetwood Mac, Rumors, highly collectible too. Okay, let's go way back to 1967. This is a real groovy record. This is more on the psychedelic side. Jimi Hendrix Experience. Man, if they would have just stayed the Jimi Hendrix Experience, can you imagine what they'd be like today? Just amazing, amazing stuff. This is the Are You Experienced record. I'm very, very happy that I own this record. It's an original pressing. Look on my Discogs here. It is from 1967. hits on here: Purple Haze, Manic Depression, Hey Joe, Are You Experienced, Foxy Lady, Fire, The Wind Cries Mary. I mean, this album right here, to me, it's got to be my favorite Jimi Hendrix record of all time. But highly, highly collectible. Jimi Hendrix Experience. You can see I've got it in the protective plastic vinyl. I highly recommend this stuff. But awesome album, very collectible. And this one's worth some money too, but I'm hanging on to it. So let's go to the next one. Okay, this next band, we're going to see a few from this band, Led Zeppelin. This is Led Zeppelin 1. One of my all-time, if not favorite rock bands, Led Zeppelin. I can't wait to go check out the new movie that's out either. If you've seen it, throw some comments on the video here today. But Led Zeppelin's first record, highly collectible, lots of pressings on this one. I won't get into all the different pressings, but the one I have here is from the Presswell pressing, and it's probably worth about $50, but I'm not going to let it go. It's a dynamite record. It's got Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Good Times, Bad Times, You Shook Me, Dazed and Confused. What an awesome rockin' record. When I first heard Led Zeppelin, it was Led Zeppelin 4 and was Stairway to Heaven. And once I heard Zeppelin, I was hooked then, and I've been hooked ever since. Led Zeppelin 1, very highly collectible record. Okay, speaking of Led Zeppelin, from 1969, Led Zeppelin 2. Now, this is not a Robert Ludwig pressing. If you've got one, you're lucky, because the Ludwig pressings are much more hot, louder. This one is not. I've got 3 Led Zeppelin 2 records in my collection, and when I run across one of these, I can't seem to let it go up for sale. Maybe the next one, but I've got 3 copies of Led Zeppelin 2. Awesome collectible record. Everybody wants one of these, so they're not that easy to find out there. And when you find them, they're usually priced pretty high, and you want to make sure you keep it in your protective plastic coverings and inner sleeves, because this album is going to be around for a long time in everybody's must-have collection. Led Zeppelin 2. All right, we've got another Led Zeppelin album here from 1971, one of my personal favorites and very highly collectible album. We call this album Led Zeppelin 4. It actually did not have a title on it. This is my German release, and this one I've got 3 copies of Led Zeppelin 4, and this is my favorite one just because the sound quality is amazing. You got Stairway to Heaven, Misty Mountain Hop, Black Dog, When the Levee Breaks. I mean, what a great record. Highly collectible. You should have this one in your collection for sure. Led Zeppelin 4. All right, the last Led Zeppelin album, I mean, they're all great, but this one is also highly collectible. Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti. What an awesome double LP. Gotta have this one. Everybody wants it, and the reason is because it's just an awesome, amazing album. It has rock and roll tones on it. It has country. It has psychedelic. It has everything on it. In My Time of Dying, Custard Pie, The Rover. Awesome record. Houses of the Holy is on here. Really, really good double LP. Physical Graffiti, one of my favorites. Oh, and I almost forgot. Kashmir, 10 Years Gone, Trampled Underfoot. So many awesome songs. In the Light, one of my favorite Zeppelin tunes. Physical Graffiti is a awesome, highly collectible record. All right, 1973, another one of my favorite bands and a highly, highly collectible record, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. Now, this copy that I'm holding in my hand is a remastered copy. I have another copy down in my vault from 1973, the original Dark Side of the Moon. But this one, it sounds great. I paid probably a little too much for it, but it's got all of the inserts from the original Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon, posters, stickers, everything in it. And this version of it, remastered version, was excellent. Let's see, I believe the year that this one was released is 2016. So it's definitely a reissue, but it's a remaster. Dark Side of the Moon, I'm sure you've heard of this record. I don't have to tell you how awesome it is. So much history on this album, and highly, highly collectible record. Okay, speaking of Pink Floyd, and they have so many albums that I own and are highly collectible, but I would say this is probably the next most highly collectible album, in my opinion, other than The Wall, would be Pink Floyd Animals. One of my favorite records of all time by Pink Floyd. What can I say? It's just an awesome, amazing record. You've got to have this in your collection, Pink Floyd Animals. Okay, no rock record collection would be complete without the Rolling Stones, and this is one of my favorite and highly collectible records, Rolling Stones' Let It Bleed from 1969. Awesome record. I mean, there's hits on here like Gimme Shelter, Midnight Rambler, Let It Bleed, Monkey Man, one of my favorite Stones tunes. Awesome album, Let It Bleed, Rolling Stones, that should be in your collection. Okay, as we get close to the end here, there's another band that you got to have in your record collection for rock and roll, and that's Rush. And I would have to say Rush, Permanent Waves, one of my favorite records, still highly collectible. Spirit of Radio, Free Will, Jacob's Ladder, amazing, amazing record. Free Will was actually on the radio quite a bit, and so was Spirit of Radio back in the day. This is from 1980. Rush, Permanent Waves. I've got all of Rush's albums, but this one is one of my favorites, still highly collectible. You should have this one in your collection. Okay, right after Permanent Waves, we've got Rush Moving Pictures. I remember when I first saw this concert back in 1981, 81 or 82. The album was made in 81, I know that. But what an amazing concert. That was my first Rush concert, and after that I went to several more Rush concerts. But anyway, Rush Moving Pictures is a very collectible record, highly sought after, amazing album. It's got the hit Tom Sawyer on it, Red Barchetta. This was when Rush was really becoming popular. People had never heard of them before until this album. The only other album I would say that really got them recognized is 2112, also a great album. But Rush Moving Pictures, that was a pivotal point in their career. Should have this in your record collection for rock and roll, my friends. Rush Moving Pictures. All right, let's go to our last record. Okay, this is what I'm going to say number 20 in alphabetical order has to be on my list of top 20 rock LPs that everybody should have in their collection. The Who, Who's Next? I think you'll agree with me on this one. Every single song on this record is a hit. I'll read them off to you. Baba O'Reilly, Bargain, Love Ain't for Keeping, My Wife, Song Is Over, Getting in Tune, Going Mobile, Behind Blue Eyes, and then finally Won't Get Fooled Again. Probably my most favorite Who song out there. But this record right here, very highly sought after, very collectible. You'll see it everywhere, but most of the time you find this record, it has been used some more, if you know what I mean. Fortunately, I've got a pretty clean copy here, and I've actually got about 4 or 5 copies of this record, and I finally did end up picking up a German release of this record as well. It's highly sought after, great album, very collectible, and just an all-around great record to have in your catalog. All right, friends, thanks for tuning in today. I hope that you'll like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot of you out there that watch me every time I come out with a video, but you're not subscribed. Please subscribe. It helps me keep the channel going, and I'll see you in the next video.